Hello, Pisces. Welcome to your timeless reading. I trust that this will find you when you need it. And as always, use your discernment when listening to tarot readings because you know you and your life best and what's happening for you. So this is merely me pulling some cards and, telling you some stuff in case you're like, yeah, that makes sense. I hadn't thought of it that way. Or like, oh, that feels like confirmation. So like that makes me feel good that I'm on the right track. That's what tarot readings are for, in my opinion. So anyway, I did pull your cards already just because it seems to be how I end up doing things around here. We got the Heart from my Archetypes deck, as well as the Desert, which I love. We got Justice, Four of Cups, Three of Pentacles in reverse, Nine of Wands, Eight of Wands in reverse, Two of Swords, the Moon in reverse, and the Two of Cups. So there's definitely like a bit of a love vibe going on for you here, Pisces, which I like to see. And I don't do my readings like career reading, love reading. I just see what comes up. And love is coming up. So this is kind of a little bit of a love reading. But before we talk about love, I feel like what we're really doing first for you, Pisces, is you're coming home to yourself and your sense of self and what you want. And like kind of getting clear on your relationship to relationships, your relationship to yourself, your relationship to the world around you. And why do I say that? Well, because we got the Moon in reverse and the Two of Swords, and I'm kind of also drawn to the Three of Pentacles in reverse, which is like, I think on some level, and we got the Eight of Wands, like, okay, I feel like you're slowing down, Pisces, and it's like, maybe there has been like a lot of forward movement, right? And like, but maybe it's almost been too much of some kind of like new developments that have been going on, where maybe you're like getting a little bit overwhelmed by it, because what I see here is this Two of Swords, and like the Two of Swords I think is absolutely an energy I personally have been in a lot lately. And to me, the Two of Swords is like, I can talk myself into completely different energies. I can like, so like, let's just say, this is such a stupid example, but like I have a vanilla sprinkle cake and I have a chocolate cake. And, there's pros and cons to both flavors, and that's such a bad example. Whatever, point being, like, I can talk myself all the reasons why eating vanilla cake is good, all the reasons why eating chocolate cake is better. And I can make strong cases for both, and neither option at some point sounds any good because they either both sound good or they both don't sound good. Like, Two of Swords to me is very mental energy. So I think I want to just speak about it in terms of you trying to maybe process all the forward movement that's been happening. This to me feels like you deliberately putting the brakes on some forward movement and really kind of like asking yourself questions about like like maybe you're at like a fork in the road, metaphorically speaking, of course, and like Two of Swords, you can make all these strong cases for why you should go left, why you should go right, what you think is ahead on that part. Or maybe you've heard tales about what happens when you go left or what happens when you go right. And people have opinions around you too. Like, people are like, I think you should go left. Oh, I think you should go right. I think you're a fool to go right. Oh, but I think I really want to go right. You know what I mean? I'm just going on and on. But that's like major Two of Swords vibes. I am feeling that strongly for you. And, like, I think that with Nine of Wands, it can be a little bit taxing, right? Because, especially, like, let's go, instead of the cake, forget the cake. Let's go back to the paths, going left or right. I think to have gotten to the point you've gotten to, Pisces, you've had to travel a long way anyway. There's been a lot of work to get to where you are, to be even in a position to make this decision. And maybe a lot of that forward movement was motivated by you. So, Nine of Wands feels kind of like just this exhaustion. I really am getting a lot of like feeling a little tired, but also feeling a little overwhelmed by the circumstances. I mean, we got the Moon in reverse, which is good to see it in reverse. and I'm kind of like just really channeling this, but I feel like also what's important right now is this Three of Pentacles in reverse, which this is the card of teamwork. But I think, you know, with this Two of Swords energy too, and with the teamwork idea, I feel like part of what is important for you, Pisces, is for you to, moon in reverse, get clear on what you want. Like, this is your energy at the end of the day, the moon, but it's in reverse, and I think Pisces, if any sign, knows that life is full of illusions and that life is a mystery and that no one really has the answers. Everyone just kind of has speculations and everyone just kind of has theories. You know, there's untold questions about life more than there are answers. You know that. And I think that is ultimately what you are in a process of doing, is getting in touch with your own heart. Like, I think, because this is all very mental energy, right? Like, this is very much like talking yourself in and out of options. You make like pros and con lists, but the pros and con lists are always, you know, kind of the same, like, lengths, or like, there's just not clarity with this, because, and I mean, she has a blindfold. So maybe there's a part with this too of like it being related to self-doubt and fear of like being afraid to really see, and being really afraid to kind of like take off the blindfold, and being afraid to make a choice, because once you make a choice, you're like probably not going to be able to go back, right? So I mean, again, that feels like part of the pause too that you're maybe putting on. It's like maybe you've been making all these instinctual choices all along, but now you've gotten again to that like kind of pivotal point in your life where you feel like the choices you make moving forward are really going to define you. And maybe you're just like a little bit overwhelmed and tired from the journey so far. Like, you've come so far, but you still have more to go. And again, I feel like there's maybe like a lot of people with opinions around you, and so you're kind of wanting to shut them out. And that was something I was getting to with the Justice, with that Two of Swords energy of like wanting the balance, right? Like wanting justice for yourself, wanting clarity of mind, wanting karmic balance, wanting to go the route that serves you the best and serves the higher good the best of all the people involved. But with the heart, I really feel like what's important to you right now, Pisces, is that the choices that you're making are connected to your heart and connected to your heart's guidance. And the reason I say that is because it's like when we die, basically, you want to probably have done the whole living business with as few regrets as possible and to leave with as full of a heart as possible. So I think that this is something you're absolutely wanting to prioritize and wanting to like sink into your heart space, right? Because I feel like that's how you're gonna, like, your heart is the arbiter of justice ultimately, because your art, well, maybe this is pertaining to your art, Pisces, but your heart, you ultimately feel like your heart is the judge, right? Like, your heart is the one who is going to be the deal breaker, the final word. You want your heart to have the final word on these questions that you're grappling with, because I think that's how you're gonna, and like, right, this is very mental air, mind energy, and I think you're like kind of wanting to sink out of that into the watery, feely, good feely, because like, look at the difference between these twos, right? This is like one of the best twos, and this is one of the like self-doubty twos. And you don't want to be in self-doubt, you want to be in communion and partnership and harmony, and like with the lion, Cicadus or whatever, like healing. There's just a lot in this cup, Two of Cups. I kind of read it as romantic relationships, just because, like, isn't that why we listen to tarot anyway? But to get here, to get to the romantic relationship that is truly fulfilling, of course, you want to make that choice from a place of knowing it in your heart and knowing what you want and need. Okay, I think I'm repeating myself a little bit, so let's kind of like move on. So here you are at the crossroads, and maybe this is pertaining to an actual relationship offer on the table, right? Like, maybe this is, I don't know. I don't really want to say what's going on. I'm just reading some energies. So, yeah, and you're wanting to, I think with the moon in reverse, you know, tap into your own intuition is what's coming to me. I also haven't talked about this Four of Cups, which is sort of like a little ennui. It's kind of being like, it's like kind of that overwhelmed feeling is leading that I was talking about earlier with the Nine of Wands, and kind of having like too many voices in your head and kind of wanting to like shut down and shut people out so you can just like hear yourself think. I mean, that's the desert, right? But like, before I get to the desert, the Four of Cups, it's like I think you're dreaming of the Ace of Cups. Like you're really, again, wanting maybe, I feel like a lot of this has to do with love, but also if it's not romantic love, I think it's still the desire to make choices from a heart-centered place of like connecting to some part of you that is making choices based on like what is going to ultimately unfold into your best life and your fulfillment and your happiness, rather than like what is the shoulds or what is the like pragmatic or what is the correct avenues to go down, like justice. Because people justify all kinds of crazy things, right? Like, what's a non-controversial example of that? Well, I've been researching pesticides lately, and it's kind of crazy that we put poison on some of the food we eat, right? But we justify it as being a necessary part of agriculture without maybe looking into alternatives. I don't know why I'm bringing that up per se, but that's just an example. I am cautioning against with like justice. A lot of weird things are considered normal in our society, and they're not necessarily healthy. And doing the healthy thing can sometimes look to other people like the crazy thing to do. So, Pisces, again, it feels like you're just wanting to go down the paths that you're going to be like, that's what I had to do. That was where my destiny was leading me to, in a way. Oof, okay. So the desert. I think this is like a pilgrimage of sorts, but it's not exactly a pilgrimage. In that maybe you don't have to travel anywhere, but the desert is a place that you can go to in real life, I guess, and spiritually, in your mind, where things are much more clear. And the reason why they're much more clear is because the desert is a little bit barren. There isn't a lot there. There isn't a lot of noise. There aren't a lot of other people. There isn't a lot of feedback. There's also the heat. I mean, I personally really, really love the desert, even though I am super sensitive to heat. You know, like, for example, alcohol is maybe one of those things, right? That, like, society has totally normalized, but that is actually kind of crazy that we consume it to the extent that we do, and that it is as ubiquitous as it is. So justice, again, bringing that back of, like, what other people justify versus you tapping into, like, what is true for you. Justice for your own soul, your own karmic balance, your own health, your own needs, your own body, your own heart wisdom. When I'm in the desert, I don't really drink alcohol because it's too hot. Like, I'm already dehydrated. I can't add that to the equation. And it kind of just, for me personally, that's my experience, it alleviates kind of a grappling, a question. It just kind of simplifies things. There's a lot of starkness in the desert, but sometimes that starkness is really welcome because that is also information. It's clarity. It's giving you that balance because everything's much more sensitive and heightened. I would say that like really invites in this moon in reverse energy of like really, I mean, there's like a hand here too, and I think that's supposed to like represent like the hand of God like reaching out to you. And like a lot of people go into the desert to do like psychedelics and a trip and stuff. I have not done that at this point in my life, but there's something about kind of like breaking open the doors and the barriers of like that whole Two of Swords energy that felt like it was keeping you really stuck. And also with this Four of Cups, kind of like going off of the overwhelming burden of the Nine of Wands, feeling kind of like listless and kind of like almost sinking into a potential depression of just like, like kind of with the Four of Cups, what I get is like, okay, I've come this far on this path. I'm here at the fork in the road, and everyone's telling me which way I should go. I'm a little bit feeling chaotic in my own mind of like not being able to like understand clearly what choice I should make. So maybe I should just give up here, almost, is kind of what I give with the Four of Cups. It's just kind of like, it's taking me so much energy to move forward in my life. And I've put the brakes on my forward momentum to be able to really sit with these decisions that I'm making, that like a part of me just wants to stop completely. Like, what's the point? This isn't filling my cup anymore. This is like draining me almost. This kind of like battle of how to live the best life, how to like make choices, how to prioritize what directions I go in, etc., etc. It could be, example, an offer for a love relationship, but like maybe your family doesn't approve, and so like this is an example, but like their lack of approval for it like dampens the excitement and makes you wonder if you should give it up. That's an example. It's maybe a bad example. I'm not saying all Pisces are going through that, but that's just something to be mindful of with this energy. And so like this again is Ace of Cups, that like this person wants and is hoping and dreaming of, just like the emotional fulfillment. And that is the whole point of this reading, is like you're seeking kind of that like emotional guidance, emotional compass, emotionally grounded, rooted, intuitively based navigation thing. Woo. But I mean, I think you're doing it. So it's like Pisces, this reading has been going on for 17 minutes, and I'll kind of like wind down. This is like ultimately about, I think, you seeking your own karmic balance, right? Again, making choices that you're going to be able to live with no matter how it pans out, because you're like coming to it from a place of heart-centered guidance, of being in touch with your emotions, of being in touch with your desires, of being in touch with like what is important to you. And with the desert, I feel like this is like saying, okay, like love is basically here. Like this card has been just like, in my little corner right here, and I haven't even been talking about it. But I think the whole reading is really about this card, about the Two of Cups, about this offer of love, about this offer of whether it's actual romantic love or whether it's just the idea of being in communion with yourself as your own partner, like having like a deeper self-love practice, or like sharing your love with your friends, or kind of treating everyone in the world as someone that you can love, like operating from love as your energy source and as your decision-making practice, and as kind of like that's hard. Forgot to mention that's hard because the heart is a very vulnerable organ, and it's very sensitive, and it can get hurt. And so we go into all those mind operating modes we try to protect it because it can get disappointed pretty easily, right? But anyway, I think what you're going to find, Pisces, I'm going to wrap this up. Okay. This is you taking time out for yourself. This is you knowing that you are the last sign of the zodiac. So you have lived probably a couple lifetimes already at this point. And you know more than maybe people let on to you knowing, or that they want to admit, or that you even want to admit. Maybe being a little bit afraid of your own insights and your own power and your own intuition. But I don't think you're that afraid. because I think you're doing it, right? Like, you're understanding, like, I have my own process, and every Pisces process might be unique. So it's like, I have my own way of getting rid of the mind clutter, getting rid of the noise, getting rid of the other people's opinions, getting rid of, like, sometimes when other people try to help us, they can actually be burdening us. You know, kind of like when there's too many cooks in the kitchen is what I get with that. So, to return, you are getting away from it all, whether literally or metaphorically, hearing yourself think, and per the desert, maybe having some kind of, like, epiphanies, divinely guided epiphanies from this hand of God, from spirit of the desert, from the extremes, right? From, like, going into that extreme heat, things become much more clear, because it's about a little bit about all that excess is gone, and you're here present in the moment and having to contend with, like, what really matters. And that, I think, helps you connect with your own heart, so you can hear your heart speak. And so you're also really in tune with yourself and your own needs. Like my example about when I'm in the desert, I don't drink alcohol because I'm just like, I can't, right? And so the whole reading, however you get there, is about you connecting with your own heart and your own heart's guidance. And then, I mean, when you do that, I think you inevitably and naturally are able to embrace this Two of Cups that's been on the table the whole time. I mean, love is really the only thing that matters. And all that other stuff that I've been talking about was just kind of, that's the excess, right? That's the dross. That's the stuff you're removing. That's the clutter. That's the, like, stuff that wasn't really that important, because this is, like, a good life, right? You're living in your own karmic balance by embracing what really matters and kind of treating every probably interaction in your life like an opportunity to share and receive and give love. And probably, yes, romantic love. But romantic love also coming from a spirit and a vibration that you are embracing and connecting with internally within yourself. And then everything else kind of goes from there. And so then when you're back at that crossroads, your heart just knows the way, and you can just go and move forward. And maybe at that point you kind of even realize, like, it's not about which way I go, it's about who I'm going with, right? Or how I'm going. So it didn't matter if I picked left or right. They were both valid options. What mattered is the spirit in which I went down either path, and how I embraced the challenges of each path, and who I gave my heart to and my trust to along the way. So, I guess that's it, you know? I hope it made sense. I hope you enjoyed. Please let me know in the comments below, like and subscribe, etc. if you liked it, because that makes me feel validated and good, and I love you, and I'll see you again next time. Bye!